Nitish is working at Webkul and he's a product designer there. So I would like to ask him, hi. So I would like to ask you to tell all of our listeners that how is your journey and what do you think
Yeah,
about Meraki?
I even didn't know about that word, like what exactly it means. So I eventually Googled a bit and then came to know like what exactly is this. So to be very clear, your dad, however, you are not supposed to do it, but you just go to kitchen and you prepare a coffee with a love. So you have added that love of yours into that coffee cup, and you just present it mom or dad. So that love is something what you will call Miraki, right? So now coming to this thing, like how I put it in my work, it was like in 2011 when I just passed my intermediate and I was to be a full-time product designer. And I was pretty sure at that time, like I'm going to degree in design itself. So I eventually
Yeah.
landed up having a job, not job, into my degree program. And it was like some 3 months. And obviously, I belong to a middle class family. And I was not having computer at that time because it was more about sketching and focusing on the foundation courses rather than looking into the tools or the design elements. So for some assignment, I was sitting in the cyber cafe, and there was another guy who was sitting just beside me, and he eventually figured out like I belong to the college, like Academy of Animation and Gaming, and he eventually suggested me like, oh man, have you took the admission at that place? So I said, yeah, I took. So he said, like, go back to your home. There is no future in design. And I was like, oh man, what this guy is saying. So I eventually tried to get more insights from him. So he said, like, I'm already a graduate from this college, having a degree like this, and I'm not getting any jobs. There are no futures. You'll maybe end up having a job of 10, 15,000 rupees. And you know what? That particular moment just made me go blank because there was a huge investment which my parents actually made while sitting at that desk. So that night, I still remember that night. I was not able to sleep for the whole night, and I was just thinking. Like, should I step back? Should I step back? Like, did I do the rightest thing? So eventually, even if you would have been here, you can just feel the goosebumps. I still have that fear along with me. Like, what happen? But you know what? For a few days, I was just like quite depressed, and then I figured out a way. I said, okay, maybe I may quit. I will look forward to something else. But eventually, what I did, I went to cyber cafe again, and I created a fake profile and put all the necessary skills which a job required. So eventually, what I observed, I had some calls from the people, and they were ready to pay like some money. Eventually, I even didn't know those software tools or design elements, but I just faked it just to check like whether this thing really existed, and then I took a chance. So whatever I am doing today, it is just because of the Meraki. Because I had love for this thing, I didn't quit. I just believed in myself. I just believed in the circumstances. At that time, I still remember it was just like 1,000 job, and nobody wants a 15, 20,000 bucks job. Actually, nobody wants them. But it was my passion that I just believed in it, and I thought I keep doing the same thing for a little while. And I was not focusing on the money part. I was like, I will be happy doing it. So I'll just do this stuff only. I won't quit or go to some other sexy things or whatever. So I just kept on doing it, and now everything is going pretty well. It's been 7 years, and I'm happy doing it. So this is like what I feel like how I have been driven by Meraki in the previous 7 years.
So coming back to Nitish, so my question
Yeah.
was like when after following, you said you wanted to follow your passion. So, do you think that following your passion individually is much more better, or joining some company or working for an organization? Which way works for you better, or which?
Yeah, actually, I will say, first of all, the word passion for me is quite overrated. I mean, I'm still not able to figure out what exactly this thing means because I'm that kind of a person. I try a lot of different things, and like I do code, I do interaction design, I do write, I do post on Instagram, I do influence people sometimes. I love to write codes for Android. I still use After Effects. I have a bunch of a good profiles at CodePen. So there are a lot of things that I'm doing, and I'm certainly loving each and everything of it. So the word passion is quite overrated for me, and I think like when I do something and if I love it, then I just do it. So that's the number one thing. And I am still not able to figure out like what exactly my passion is or what I really want to do with my life. I just want to make things easier for other people, whether it could be with code, whether it could be with design, and it could be with Instagram. I don't know, but I just want to make things easier for other people. And coming straight away to your question, like whether is it okay to work alone to follow your passion or to work with a team. So it really does not matter. It's the matter of happiness that you are having when you do a thing. So maybe at Webkul, when I have a product and there are clients, they talk to me directly and I craft solutions for them and it helps grow their business. So it gives a sort of satisfaction to me, which is seamless. Like I love it. And at the same time, when I sit on my desk and sketch something and put it on Instagram, it also gives me a sense of, a self satisfaction. So it really does not matter. But yes, the kind of the people I'm surrounded with at my place, that really matters. So that's how I just make a bridge between these things. But it is not always like going alone or going in a team differentiates like what I love and what I don't love to do. It is like what I want to do.
So my question to all the speakers, it's a general question, any one of you can answer it. So for an example, we being the lame users, we don't know how to place even a simple box. While you people are designing and you have to creatively see whether it's 360 degree, it's fine or not. So how do you think these small elements change the design perspective or the whole design or the layout and ultimately the user experience?
uh, like could you like put a little more context into it, like what kind, like if you
Okay,
could
so
repeat a bit.
yeah. So in simple terms, if we see, we use so many apps these days. So just a scroll button or just a back and next button. So how these things, the placement of these things work for user experience. Like if you are placing it on the bottom of the mobile phone, if it is an app for mobile phone, if you put it on bottom or if you put it on top, so how much difference will it make?
Uh, yeah, I'll just say a tiny thing about the same. Like when I design, I focus on two things in particular. First one is the technical aspect of the thing, and second one bringing some artistic values into it because generally the people art. Like everybody in this world probably is fascinated by art. It could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be performing arts, it could be a painting or maybe whatever. So whenever I just make, I try to focus on both the things. And just an example, for example, I'm supposed to choose some colors for my project. So I do focus on the artistic values as well as the color psychology. And on the technical aspect, maybe the color wheel is a thing. Like we know, like the complementary colors have the highest contrast on the color wheel. So I generally tend to focus those kind of algorithms when I initially choose a color swatch or a palette. But at the same time, I do focus on the accessibility guidelines, like what is the color I'm picking? Maybe red and green as a complementary, they must pass double A or the triple A. So that's how I think when it comes to putting the necessary details into the project, like focusing on the technical as well as the artistic values of that particular page. And obviously, as a designer, we need to be very focused on the guidelines, grids. These things may seem like daunting, but they really helps once you are comfortable with them. Like I have been following material design guidelines in HIG, and probably I have designed more than 100 apps for the clients, customers, and Webkul itself, and it really helps, like aligning everything on the chart. And anyone from the team can collaborate, but if you don't follow those technical things, then it is really hard to keep your entire team on the same page. Like for example, I'm designing some custom app using my own algorithms, then my team will find it hard to collaborate on the project because they will not be able to get okay what exactly you are doing. So there are certain technical blocks that we eventually follow, like 8 pixel grid is a thing which I've introduced in my team lately, and we people have been following it, which helps us align things on the same table all the time. And answering in particular to your question, Nivedita, whatever you're seeing on your screen may seem simple, but always remember it takes a lot of hard work to make things simple. It is very easy to create hard, but it is very hard to deliver simple. Okay, I guess everybody can agree to this.
So there is a question from the audience. So they
Mhm.
want to know how much is this social validation thing important for a design, or the social acceptance of a design by the people?
Anyone wants to take it?
Agree. I totally agree, Saptarshi, because if I would not have done the work that I have did the previous 7 years and I would not have shared the value I have on Instagram, most probably would not have been invited here. So he said exactly right. It really makes sense. Yeah, in fact, I had the same conversation with the Abhinav when he last visited for one of the workshops at my place. So I just asked him the same question, like, Abhinav, do you really think this thing has some value? So he answered me like in a very, and at that time I was not posting anything on the Instagram. I guess Abhinav, it was January, maybe, right?
Yes, I guess
Yeah,
very much.
yeah. So I was not even having an account on Instagram by then. So I just asked him, like, does this thing really means? So he answered in a very polite way, like, obviously you can make 25 or 30 or 50K followers by faking it, but what eventually will happen when you will have the door to pass, you need to have the knowledge. So maybe that makes sense too here.
So my question is, like, what do you think can be, the improvements in the designing field, where all these new upcoming designers, wherever they are learning or something, so where can they improve themselves?
Yeah, I'll just say something, and even this thing seems very important because a lot of people are actually watching us. So I've just jot down all the terms that I feel like anybody should take care of because I really don't want to convey something chaotic or messy here. So the number one thing is overcome the fear of rejection. Whatever you are doing it, just show it off. Obviously, you cannot compare your work with Saptarishi's work because he's already doing it for years and years. So whatever you have got, you need to put it on the table and show it to the people because you have just started into it. So just overcome the fear of rejection. Second thing, at Webkul, when I interview for the post of visual UI designers and UX designers, and frankly speaking, I have interviewed maybe more than 500 people in last 6 or 7 years or so. And I was the first designer at the Webkul, so I hired a bunch of the people, and now we're a full-fledged design team. So what I feel like most of the time, people come up with the fake skills, like they show off their skills, like I know this, I can do that, and they tend to show it off. But eventually, when you come into the practical environment, I suppose you to work on those things with the same capabilities. But if you are faking it too much, then we know the result what it's going to be. So don't fake it to that extent that you are even not able to deliver it and you are just faking it, so it won't help. There are a lot of quotes like fake it unless you don't make it, but I still advise you be practical to some extent. Third one is like be original. Like whatever you have got, just show it. Like if you are truly very great at the illustrations, show it off. Just don't try to fake from the other people's. Like these days, whenever I tend to hire for the post of visual UI designer or UX designer in particular, I find those five big blocks where people show off the design thinking. Like first stage is empathize, second is sorry, define, and then ideate and prototype. So we don't need those necessarily those five blocks. Even in like I'm in an organization where I'm working directly with the client, so there have been cases where we don't follow those UX research processes. We have our own custom oriented research method for different sort of clients. So don't fake it. Don't put those, like if you are not actually interviewing a person, then don't create a persona for the God's sake because it's a fake thing. And end of the day, by God's grace and after 7 years of experience, I'm smart enough to catch it when I will have a conversation with you. Like, did you really did it by yourself? And if you faked it, then obviously things will not go very good on the table. So be original. And last thing, most of the times I'll just share an experience. Before 1 week, I was taking an interview, and the guy in between, once the interview was over, I asked a question which he was not able to answer. So he said, "Okay, thank you, sir, for this process, and I'm really keen that you at least introduce me to these terms, and I will be looking forward to learn to them. And I'm very sure I'm not going to be selected." So that was not the case. Even in my head, maybe I'm still going to hire that guy because we never. The fight is not to hire the best. The fight is to hire the right. For me, that's how I hire at Webkul. Like I'm not here to hire the bestest. I am here to hire the rightest. Like someone who has the same kind of ideology or the working process. I have the same kind of motivation. Like I put towards the users and empathizing with them. So I look forward to a similarity between me and him. And maybe I got lucky enough that I was first on that place, so that I'm the one who is looking for the comfortable one. And situation could have been flipped if he would have been sitting on my chair. So then he has the right to choose someone who is comfortable to work with him. All right. So these are like my 5 key advices that I will show to that I will ask anybody to improvise upon. Over to you, Nivedita.